I often talk to you about the coming Tory civil war, and trust me, it is coming. The story that we're going to go through in a bit is a perfect example of what I've been saying all this time about the seeds of this future direction of what the Conservative Party wants to go in is going to be fought pretty much predominantly soon, I think, even more now, the fact that Boris Johnson has completely lost any integrity, and we'll have to see how much control he still has over the parliamentary Conservative Party. And this is going to be certainly one big test for it. So, what is the split that is causing this? Well, it's an ideological one. The hard right group of Tories, mostly of them predominantly all very much Brexiteers, and those of the more moderate Tories. Their split is simply this. The hard right want subsidies, any form of government involvement in any sort of economic activity, whatever, gone completely. As far as they are concerned, subsidies are a bad thing, even though there are many cases where you can show that subsidies given to businesses and industries help them grow. It is good for the economy. Now, of course, the other moderate Tories are now, no, we understand subsidies. We understand again why that is the case. You need them for helps economic growth, etc., as we just said, and that is the ideological line. The hard right want them gone, and the moderates want them to at least keep them in some way, shape, or form. And the farm subsidies, or what we call the ELMS, or the economic land management subsidies, which are again coming in to replace the common agricultural policies, something again that Brexiteers desperately want to get out of, we're coming up to another big potential fight. And this could be a big punch up. And I've often said there's flashpoints of where we have seen these two different parts of the parliamentary party almost go to war and then pull back at the last minute. And this could be another potential flashpoint. And as I've said before, Boris Johnson is the wallpaper that is covering this massive gaping chasm. He's managing to somehow straddle it and keep these two sides from at least tearing into each other. But certainly after Partygate and the Sue Gray report, how much authority he can still be able to keep is incredibly questionable. And can he now maintain that careful balance that he was so carefully maintaining before? We certainly don't know, but needless to say, it's going to be very interesting to see if he can. So before we do go into the article today, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and one donation link called Buy Me Coffee. We can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. And of course, down below, there is the YouTube subscription link as well, where you get access to some fun stuff from channel badges and things like that. And of course, the YouTube thank you button as well, where you get to leave a fancy comment. So let's go into this. This comes from The Guardian with the title of Hard Right Tories Push to Delay Environmental Land Management Scheme. The government's plans to pay farmers for their stewardship of nature could be delayed or scrapped, it is feared, as hard right Conservative MPs join the campaign against the Environmental Land Management Scheme, or the ELMS. The rollout of ELMS, seen by some as one of the few positive Brexit dividends, is due to begin this year, with more standards being incrementally bringing in between 2023 and 2025. And of course, as we've said before at the beginning, those hard right Brexiteers don't want standards at all. To them, that is an obstacle to businesses flourishing. And of course, you only have to look at what happens when businesses don't have standards to see how bad that can really go in some cases. So anyway, let's go back to it. So the Brexit campaigners pointed out the ability to leave the common agricultural policy, the EU's farm subsidy system, as a good reason to leave the EU. Part of that system involved paying farmers for having land in food production, and this, it has been argued, led to environmental damage across the continent. Again, I do not think that was certainly the case of it, but if it is, let me know. I'd be interested to see that. Michael Gove, the Environmental Secretary, one of the cheerleaders for Brexit, drew up the new system for England's farmers, paving the way for what he claimed would be a green Brexit. But Labour and the Liberal Democrats have joined the National Farmers Union in calling for a delay of the scheme, arguing that it is incompatible with the cost of living crisis to pay farmers not to produce food and instead create forests and ponds. And I'm with them on that. In fact, I've been with them since the beginning of the ELMS scheme. It doesn't make sense to make farmers land stewardships, because you don't go into farming to become land stewards. That's not what a farmer does. A farmer's main job is to produce food, not to be a land steward. So this scheme doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think this was done to try and attract a lot of, shall we say, green people to the party. But again, it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you look at it, and especially what we're in now, where we've got a cost of living crisis, the increasing price of food, especially with what's going on in Ukraine. It does not make sense where we need to grow more food to, at least help to bring the prices down as well, to have this type of scheme. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, we'll continue. There were worries within the government that those within the right wing of the party have seized this opportunity to now get the subsidies scrapped. As we said before, that after to get scrap all these subsidies. Sources say that Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is believed to have successfully caused the government to drop its post-Brexit animal welfare commitments, including a foie gras ban, has been among those putting pressure on the government to drop the ELMS scheme. Steve Baker, the MP for High Wycombe, who is widely thought to be of as being instrumental in the campaign for a hard Brexit, has been openly pushing for ELMS to be rethought. As we've said, all these hard Brexiteers pushing for this. Again, it's part of their bigger plan. Baker, who runs the Eurosceptic European Research Group and is a member of the Net Zero Scrutiny Group, which is pushing against the government's net zero measures, said, multiple government ambitions on land use have taken land out of food production. Food security should be as much of a national priority as energy security. We must prioritize food security and food chain resilience, cutting unnecessary regulations and interventions, and consider refocusing our food chain functionality. Of course, he doesn't really care about food production. Remember, back in Brexit, most of these hard right Brexiteers like him were saying, oh, don't worry about food prices because we can import all this cheap food from elsewhere. Again, why is he now all of a sudden complaining about food security? It doesn't really go with some of his past comments. So, DEFRA ministers say they are fighting to try and keep ELMS a priority and that they hope it can still be delivered on time. Victoria Pettens, the farming minister, said abandoning the phase out of the area-based subsidy would not be the right thing to do for farmers or the environment. In 2017, 1.775 billion of payments were made out to across 85,000 farms, and at 10% of these claimants received half of its total. 33% of farmers received less than £5,000 each. Our new schemes are supporting the choices of the individuals for, again, they always love to do this spin. Oh, it's just the individual's choice. Where were we? For choices for the individuals to take for their own farms and help boost their own productivity and profitability. We have also recently trebled our new farm equipment and technology fund to over 48 million to help support more farmers with their investment plans. Delaying ELMS would put a big dent in the government's own net zero plans. According to analysis by the think tank Green Alliance, it would also reduce agricultural emissions in savings up to 2035 to half what they could have been if the ELMS program was delivered on time. Because emission savings are cumulative, this would put more pressure on other areas to decarbonise even faster to make up for the loss, leaving a substantial gap in the UK's net zero plans, according to a report. So, as you can see, this is also another excuse to really push into that anti-net zero push, which again, many of the Brexiteers and those the hard right libertarians are all about. So this is yet another government plan and another big fight that is going to go on. And as you've seen there, have Jacob Rees-Mogg already pushing to get rid of the the post-Brexit animal welfare checks. So why not just push for the rest of this stuff going? And remember, this ELMS program is touted and sold as, oh, this is a Brexit benefit. This is the sought after unicorn that we're telling you all about. We're going to do this. It's going to be great, guys. But National Farmers Union are dead against it. Politically, again, I agree with the Labour and the Lib Dems. It is not a good idea to be doing this, and I agree, shockingly, with the Brexiteer Steve, Steve Baker. But again, it doesn't fit with his past comments about Brexit. So kind of bizarre. Why is he pushing for it? Because it's along ideological grounds. They want to get rid of subsidies, and they want to get rid of as many subsidies as possible. Not only that, but regulations, which he mentioned, touched on briefly there, but again, didn't say which ones, because he just wants to get rid of them all. So this could be a big fight. This could be certainly another big spark between more of those, again, infighting in the Conservative Party, which, as we've said before, currently Boris Johnson is managing to very much keep a lid on, but we are now in a post-Partygate world and, of course, a post-Sue Gray world. Whether he still has that authority to carry on with that will, we don't know. But this is definitely something that we're going to have to keep an eye on and see how much of a boil this brings the pot to. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And, of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And, of course, there's the YouTube subscription button down below. And, of course, the YouTube thank you button as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.